why study skin? All right. Everybody is kind of like, well, yeah, I just want to do facials and I want to help my patients, but we need to understand the fundamentals of skin, right? Skin is not only what we see on the outside, but it includes understanding physiology, understanding the anatomy behind it, okay? And understanding the histology. Physiology is important because it allows us to have the confidence to treat the skin. Anatomy, anatomy gives us the ability and the foundation of treating our patients. If we don't know anatomy, we're not really going to understand what skin is and how we can help our clients. Histology is basically the fundamentals of everything that the skin is based on. That includes all the cells that are involved in skin health, and therefore the products that you recommend here are going to take a big role. Because if we don't understand histology, we don't know what products we need to offer our clients. All right. So that's why I think it's really important to always ask yourself, well, hey, why am I learning this? And what is the importance of me actually learning these things? Now, let's go over a question that is a board exam question. So for the folks that are about to take the boards or prepping for the boards, this is an actual board exam question, okay? Excuse me. Which of the following substances do the sebaceous glands use to lubricate the skin? Is it uric acid, ascorbic acid, lipids, or lymph? Now, in order to truly answer this question, you need to know what sebaceous glands mean. You need to know what their function is and what they do to actually lubricate the skin on a histological level. So once again, it's asking you, what is the anatomy? It's asking you, what is the physiology? What do sebaceous glands do? And lastly, it wants to know what cells or what is it actually producing? And so therefore, it's asking you all of these things in this simple question. So as you can see, the board is asking you exactly what is, that they are said that they said they would. They were going to ask you these three major things. So why don't we dive a little bit deeper? In order to answer this question, we need to understand what is the skin function. All right. The skin has 6 functions. The first is protection. The second is sensation. Third is heat regulation. All right. Fourth is going to be excretion. 5 is going to be secretion. And 6 is going to be absorption. All right. Cool. Can you guys see my screen, or is it getting kind of cleared out on the on Zoom? Go ahead and tell me.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect, good. So these are the 6 functions of the skin, okay? How cool is that? The skin actually has a gajillion functions, and we're gonna learn about all of them. Okay? So I think that's so cool that the skin is able to do all that. And what we didn't even like realize that it's doing this on a constant basis. So first, let's talk about protection. How is it actually even protecting us? The skin is the largest organ in our body. Like, how amazing is that? And in order for it to be the largest organ in our body, it has to do so many things. And 6 of the functions of the skin is actually we're just scratching just the first layers of it. So think of an analogy, okay? Think of your kid or your significant other or somebody coming over and giving you a kiss on your cheek, okay? Now kids in particular, like my kids, they're dirty. They carry germs and bacteria and viruses. And when my kid comes and gives me a kiss on my cheek, it's disgusting majority of the time. And so my skin is literally protecting me from bacteria, okay? From viruses. It's giving me the protection I need from microorganisms. All right. And in order to really understand how it actually protects us, we need to understand, furthermore, the anatomy. Because how this goes about protecting us is that we have something in our skin called sebum. Okay? What's sebum? Oil. What's oil made out of? Lipids. Yeah. Okay? Not only is it protecting us, but we'll understand that it actually is helping us lubricate the skin. And that's how we'll ultimately answer the question here. All right, let's keep moving. So in order to really understand the anatomy of the skin, we need to understand what the acid mantle
Balance.
is. Okay? This ultimately equals barrier function, the acid mantle. You will have heard about this in your school or in your books.
Yeah.
This is a major concept to understand. The acid mantle literally is the foundation of what the skin is doing because it includes four major things. It includes lipids, includes sebum, includes sweat, and water, H2O, okay? These are important because all of this translates into something called the hydrolipidic balance. All right? I'm sure you guys have heard these words before, so this is hopefully a review for a majority of us. But if not, this is a major, major concept that we need to understand, okay? So let's talk more about what does hydrolipidic mean? Hydro, you guessed it, water. Lipidic, lipids, right? Lipids. Remember, that's what that question was asking us, right? Lipids, lymph, ascorbic acid, uric acid, like what is it? So we need to understand what hydrolipidic means. Hydro water, lipidic lipids. Basically, our body is trying to keep the balance between water and lipids. And as estheticians, this is where you come in. This is the key thing. You are keeping the balance between water and lipids. If water gets really low on your skin, what happens? You get dehydrated. When lipids go crazy high in your skin, excuse me, sebum, what happens? Great area for bacteria to take over, okay? Bacteria is going to go to town on your skin because when there's lipids, it loves anaerobic area for bacteria to grow and cause infection, clog up your pores. What happens when you clog up your pores? You get, that's right, you get comitos, you get acne, you get clogged pores, disgusting stuff. But this is kind of why we do aesthetics, right? Because we love this stuff. That's why we love extracting. All right. So let's talk more about the acid mantle because I think this is key. And sometimes we just don't understand that that this is what your body is constantly working towards to keep this equilibrium or keep this balance. The balance of your skin is at a pH of, you guys can throw it in the comments. Tell me what you think the skin's pH is. Is it 5.5? Is it 6.5? Is it 7.5? Or is it 9.5? I'll kind of wait for some answers in the chat, okay? Got to make sure you guys are awake. The answer is 5.5. When I give my general chemistry lectures, we'll understand what pH even means. Like, what is pH? But that's a whole different topic, and that's something that I cover in a whole different class of mine, okay? But yes, the answer is 5.5. Why does this matter? Because when you guys are going to be out in practice, you're going to be encountering a lot of folks trying to sell you products. You're going to need to understand that, hey, if my pH of my skin is 5.5 and I'm using an acid peel that's, let's say, 10, I'm really not doing much of an exfoliation for the skin. I'm not doing much. Instead, if it's something lower and stronger, then you know that, okay, this is a good acid peel that I'm offering to my patients or to my clients. So that is really important. Once again, so in review, what I would like to tell you guys is that the acid mantle, right? You guys are probably like, why is he saying this so much time? Because this will be on your test. The acid mantle is the barrier function. Okay, this is a shorthand for function. I probably made it up. It includes lipids, water, sweat, and what else? Sebum. That's right. This allows us to keep our skin hydrated. Okay, that is super duper important. Okay, now in the comments below, let me know what you guys thinks happen when the skin gets when it loses this balance. What happens to our skin? Name me 3 things that you think happens, and I'll write them down too. I like that, Nicole. Yeah, you're right. So, yep, we get dehydrated, the word that I've been saying over and over. Yeah, we get lines, we get aging, right? We get aging. Gosh, that's why our clients are coming to us because we want to help them with anti-aging. If we don't understand anatomy, histology, physiology, how are we going to help them with aging, right? So that's right. Anything else you guys got? How about skin sensitivities, right? When we lose our balance, we get skin sensitivity, like rosacea, right? Aging, fine lines, right? Dehydration, skin cracks. Why this is important for us is that when we get dehydrated, the skin can no longer protect us. We need the skin to protect. If it doesn't protect, you are susceptible to bacteria, infection, right? When we age, when we lose our hydration, when we lose the nice oily skin, when we age, when we're dehydrated, we lose collagen deposition in our skin. How sucky is that? Number 3, sensitivities. My spelling sucks and my writing is horrible because I'm a doctor, so please excuse it. Sensitivities, when that happens, such as rosacea, such as allergic reactions to any products that you're using, what happens is that you lose water, right? You are sensitive to sun, you're sensitive to exposure. What is this doing to our number 1 element of the skin function? Protection is gone. You have no protection. So that's why these things are really important to understand when it comes to the acid mantle. Let's talk about dehydration, okay? Now, for some of the folks here that are using the Milady book, we talk about in the Milady book something called transepidermal water loss, right? Or TEWL, okay? What is transepidermal water loss? In order to understand what this is, let's break down the word because sometimes these words just are confusing and they mean very, very simple things, okay? So trans means from one place to another, just as if you were transporting yourself from here to, let's say, Vegas or something. So trans means from transporting yourself or going from one place to another. Epidermal is the skin. Water is obviously water and loss is loss. So through the skin, through the epidermis, you're losing your water, therefore causing dehydration. Understand what TEWL means, okay? So here's a picture of a skin. Our skin is lined with layers and layers of something called epidermal cells, okay? This concept is important because this is why you're going to be recommending products to your patients. Now, you also have in here water, right? Water is going through and going off from the skin. It's going through all the cells and going out, and you're evaporating it. Now, how do we protect all this water to be lost? So that's where lipids come into place. Right? These are lipid molecules in between all the cells and even in the cells of the epidermis. And this is how you are preventing water loss. If any of you guys have cooked, I'm sure all of us have, what do we use when we cook? We use oil and we use water. What does oil and water do? They do not mix. They create a hydrophobic layer, right? So oil and water don't mix, but together they allow for your meal to be lubricated. So it's not dry, like burnt steak or something like that. That's why we use oil. So it creates a layer and it protects the water from being evaporated, therefore keeping your meal lubricated, right? So that's the whole concept behind transepidermal water loss. Now, if you look at what the question was asking, what do oil glands utilize to lubricate the skin? Now we actually truly understand, I hope, is that lipids are the answer to this question. These concepts is just understanding anatomy, physiology, and histology. All right. Now, I think the other cool part about the skin is that it can heal itself. It's protective healing. Like, how cool is that? As an esthetician, it's really important for us to understand healing properties. How come? Because you're going to be recommending your clients healing products, right? We recommend aloe vera, we recommend preventative stuff like sunblock, we recommend so many different things to our clients so that we can help them protect and even heal at times. Think of your skin like this, right? Let's say you got a cut here on your skin. There's a cut. The cool part about this is that your body has the ability to heal this cut. How does that happen? The way it happens is that your body senses that, oh man, I have a cut here. It then triggers to your brain, goes to the brain, and it says, hey, brain, I need some help. I just got cut on my skin. This esthetician went to town on my skin and did so many extractions. I got all these like extraction marks now. I need help. Help me heal. All right. And the way it does that is that it releases something called epidermal growth factor. Okay. This is a hormone released by the brain. It then goes to stimulate the cells that are lined in our epidermis and dermis. Okay. It goes here and says, hey, cells, start growing. We need you to grow and we need you to produce healing elements. What are the healing elements? Healing elements are collagen, right? It increases blood supply to that area. It brings nutrients, oxygen. It brings in, detoxifies the region. So much happens to help protect our skin, all right? And so that's where aloe vera comes into play to help calm and relax the inflammation. That's where sunblocks come into play so that we can decrease exposure to the sun and UVAs and UVBs to help prevent this whole inflammatory process. So the skin is doing a lot just to kind of get us by on a daily basis, right? So I think that's an amazing function of the skin. It's constantly helping us with protecting us from our world. All right. The next function of the skin is sensation. Right? My slobbery kid came to me, gave me a kiss. I sensed him kissing me. Did I want that slobbery kiss? Probably not, but it was cute, so I took it. It gives me the ability to have sensation. When you do extraction on your patients, they're recognizing the pressure applied by your extractor, causing a sensation. Why is this important? Right? We always need to ask why. Why is this important? Why do I even care? Is it just for the exam? No, absolutely not. If we think like if it's just for the exam, then we're going to remember and we're going to forget. But in order to be successful in this industry, and I kind of preach this to all my students, is that you need to understand why. Because if we don't understand the foundation and the fundamentals, we usually kind of just get by, okay? So why I think this is important is because, once again, bring it back to the treatments you're offering your clients. You're giving them facial massages. Why? Because of the property of the skin, because it has the property of sensation. Massage. What does massage do? You increase pressure on the skin. Okay. What does that do? It tells the brain, hey, brain, I'm getting some pressure in this area. You need to send epidermal growth and you need to increase circulation. As I increase circulation, what happens? I get to have more blood to come to my skin. I get to have more blood come in and then more detoxification happens. I get to have new epidermal growth factors that come in that stimulate new cells to grow. And those stem cells will then help me rejuvenate my skin by allowing me to do further things that my skin needs. That could be deposition of collagen. It could be absorption of the products applied to the skin. etc., etc. Let's keep moving. We've got a lot to cover. Next thing, which I think is pretty cool. I think everything's pretty cool in skin, so that's why I teach it. Heat regulation, okay? Skin is involved in heat regulation. Can anybody tell me in the comments here, in the chat, what do you think our body temperature is? What is the ideal average body temperature? 98.7, 98.9, 100.5, or 96.7? This will be a question on your test. All right, Elizabeth's got 98.7. I got one for that. Anybody else? 98.7. All right, got another one. It's okay, guys. You guys can guess. No problem. Okay, 98.73. Okay, you guys seem very confident. All right, well, let me tell you, you got your question correct. It is 98.7. Why is that important, right? That is important because our body, if it fluctuates even by a degree or two, it is going to allow or is going to make the enzymes in our body get denatured. It makes the proteins in the body denature. It accelerates our aging process. It basically ruins collagen. It's allowing your body to get to a point where it shouldn't be. So that's why it's important for us to realize that 98.7 is the appropriate body temperature for our body to function at the pristine level that it needs to. All right, let's talk about thermoregulation. I love that. Okay, thermoregulation. Break it down. Thermo, temperature. Regulation, maintaining balance. Okay, that's kind of how I think of it. Temperature balance. It uses basically 4 different ways to thermoregulate. All right. The first one is perspiration. Second one is evaporation. Third is radiation. And fourth is insulation. All right. That's key, okay, guys? This will be on your test. It's going to be on your test because when you're doing your facials, you were basically causing your patients to perspire, evaporate, and even at a point radiate, okay? So that's why it's really important for estheticians in this day and age to understand what causes or what are the steps in thermoregulation. So let's break it down a little bit more, okay? This is me. I'm usually pretty happy, so I got this, and I'm definitely not that skinny. Okay? We're going to talk about thermoregulation. Okay? Now, what you want to do is you want to figure out, what does the body do when it's cold? What does the body do when it's hot? Okay? So let's do cold. Let's use some colors here, all right? When you're cold, what happens? Your blood vessels constrict. Blood vessels constrict, right? You're trying to save the heat. Blood is warm. It's powerful. It's warm. You don't want to have your blood vessels dilate because you'll lose heat. Second, your sweat glands. What do you think is going to happen to sweat glands? They're not going to be sweating. You don't want to lose fluid. Don't lose fluid, right? You're trying to maintain the fluid. You don't want to sweat it off. 3, you get goosebumps. What are goosebumps, right? What are they? They're a component of your skin and hair follicles. And in particular, this will be on your test. They'll ask you that your erector pili muscles are going to constrict. They're going to contract. They're going to keep the heat inside your skin. Because what is skin? The largest organ in the body, right? It has the largest surface area. And if you lose all your heat through the largest surface area of your body, you're going to basically not be able to maintain thermoregulation. All right? We don't want that. We want it to thermoregulate. What happens when it's hot? Blood vessels What happens to blood vessels? They dilate, okay? Sweat glands. What happens? Sweat glands. Sweat glands are going to sweat. They're going to perspire, right? Then you're going to radiate. Oh, sorry, guys. My pen just died. That's crazy. It radiates, okay? The radiation happens. You're basically getting so warm that you're giving off heat, right? And lastly, when sweat hits the skin, it's evaporating and causing your body to cool down. That all makes this guy in the middle super duper happy, all right? So that's what's going on with thermoregulation. When we understand these concepts, we can then answer questions very easily and with confidence. Next, let's talk about excretion. What is excretion? Okay, excretion is part of the acid mantle. Remember that thing that we talked about way back when? The acid mantle. Because secretion is part of your sweat glands. Sweat glands, right? The sweat glands allow us to perspire. They release toxins. Your body's constantly making toxins, so it needs to release these toxins by excreting them, right? There's two different types of sweat glands. One of them is called apocrine. The other one is called, you guessed it, ecrine. Are also glands that release things that are called pheromones, okay? Pheromones. Now, these glands basically secrete sweat that reacts with bacteria in the armpits and groins and release the scent that animals, mammals in particular, can pick up as pheromones, okay? Eccrine glands, they're basically located everywhere in the body, everywhere, okay? These are actually considered to be true excretion or sweat glands, also known as sudiferous glands, okay? All right, guys. Let's talk about secretion, right? This is another topic or this is another function of the skin, secretion. So why is secretion important, right? Because remember, this all goes back to transepidermal water loss, right? Secretion is an important key because we don't want to secrete too much and we don't want to secrete too less in clogged pores. So that's where the transepidermal water loss comes into play. That's where the equilibrium comes into play. Because remember, 50 to 70% of our skin is pretty much all water, okay? So secretion is important because this is where sebum or oil comes and protects us from losing too much water. What are some of the things in life, in physiology or whatnot, that increase sebum production? Okay, hormone, medications, good, good, good. I like it. Well, testosterone, okay, good. Yep, that's hormones, yep, I like it. Certain foods, yes, you guys are hitting beautiful, beautiful points because all of this matters, right? When we treat our clients, you're right. Food with high sugars, you're correct. You are all correct, okay? Everything, what you mentioned can increase sebum production, right? Oil production. In particular, puberty, right? You're going to have patients that come in with acne, like I did when I was going through my puberty. I had horrible, horrible acne. And that's where I came into the world of aesthetics through my mom, right? That's what I told you guys before. Puberty messes up your hormones, as I'm sure all of us know. Our testosterone is off the charts, estrogen is off the charts, our stress level is off the charts, our foods with a high sugar intake is off the charts. Okay, so what are steroids? They're basically what you mentioned, testosterone and an estrogen, right? Hormone altercations that happen, like cortisol that's released from your body. That's a stress hormone. Whenever we take an exam or need to go to prom or whatever your client's needs are, they end up having a random pimple that pops up. It's because in that area of their body, because of the stress release, they had increased sebum production, causing clogging of their pores. So during high stress times in your clients' lives, just recommend them a wash because that's all they need. They need to clear their skin and have a good wash. Okay. So ultimately, what does that do? Right? Let's go back to the major point. The major point was, you guessed it, trans epidermal water loss. That balance is screwed, right? You have increased sebum because of all of these hormones and stresses that we talked about, emotions, steroids, right? Increased sebum. What happened? Decreased water loss, right? You lost it. You lost that balance. Because of that balance being lost, you ended up having skin issues. And that's where, as estheticians, you come into play, right? That's your job. Your job is to educate your clients, to teach them, hey, this is what's going to happen during this time in your life. So, what can you do to prevent it? All right. So, I want you, when you're with your clients, to understand why they're going through this. You're not going to tell them, hey, you're going through this because you messed up your transepidermal water loss. No, you're going to, obviously put it in layman's terms for them. But for you, you should understand those concepts. All right, let's talk about the last function of the skin, which is going to be absorption. Okay, because absorption is a key function of the skin, right? This is where majority of your work is going to come because you're going to prescribe or give your patients and clients medications to put on their skin, products. You're going to do facials with steam and etc. Those are all things that are going to allow the skin to absorb. Okay, so that's why that's a very important function of the skin, and that's the function that you are going to be maximizing on. All right. However, the skin is super duper picky. The major things that can really get through the skin is going to be water, okay, oxygen, sun, and products. And I talk about products a lot more in detail in my other lectures where we talk about product chemistry, what type of products are real products and which ones are not that helpful. We talk about why we need to know what's in a product to know if it actually is going to penetrate the skin and penetrate all the layers of the skin and where exactly does it work in the skin, okay? But just in general for this chapter, know that absorption is one of the key functions of the skin, okay? Now, let's talk about what are some of the routes of absorption of the skin, right? How does it even get into our skin? All right, once again, this is our skin. I'm a horrible, horrible drawer, okay, guys? I'm sorry. But it's still fun to draw. Okay, so once again, that you can guess is the hair root. These are cells lined up as blocks, okay? I'm gonna put a little S there for ways that your skin can absorb is through the sun, right? Sun can go ahead and penetrate directly into the skin, okay? And that's what helps with vitamin D, okay? Calcium can get produced through that mechanism, which we won't dive into just yet, okay? Products that you give to your patients, right? That can go through even the hair follicle. It can go through the skin itself, okay? Water is great. Water can come through. It can go through the cells in between. It can go anywhere through there. All right. And oxygen. We need oxygen, right? Oxygen is going to allow our skins to be able to breathe, to give them the transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide, brings in healthy nutrition to the skin. So in general, we can absorb through our skin through follicle walls, through our sebaceous glands. We can go through intracellular and even transcellular, okay? Those are the 4 major ways our skin can absorb. So let's review, because that was kind of a lot, okay? I understand. I know it can get a little crazy. But, becoming an esthetician is not easy. You got to know all these things. And then you got to practice these things every day. So it's important, okay? All right. What are the 6 functions of the skin? Let's list them one more time. Protection, right? Then we got sensation. Protection from my kid giving me a slobbery kiss so I don't get bacterial infection. Sensation because he's cute and I could feel it on my cheek. Heat regulation because when he kisses me or she kisses me, oh man, it's so cute. I get all warmed up. but I want to regulate my heat. I don't want to freeze. Excretion, because I got to get rid of all the toxins that I put into my body. They got to get out of me. Secretion, same thing. All right. And lastly, absorption that we just talked about. Okay. What we got to do is we got to talk about the layers of the skin. Okay. This is going to be such a big topic. The reason is because guess what? You work on the skin. So we need to know all the layers of the skin, right? Cool. Go ahead in the comments. This may take a little bit, okay? But this will be good. And I think the more you practice it, it'll be better for you. Without looking at your books, go ahead in the comments. Tell me what the layers of the skin are. And don't worry, you don't have to tell me in any certain order. Just go ahead and type the names out. The more you write them out, the more you're going to remember them and understand them. Okay, I like it. Okay, well, let's dive a little bit deep into it, okay? I think it's important to understand the layers of the skin. And the reason is because it's a little complex. It's not really that easy. And there's so many layers, all right? So once again, let's draw it out, right? Let's just draw a box. And then let's break the box into 5 layers because that's how many major layers there are. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. The way I like to remember it is by a mnemonic, okay? The mnemonic is come, let's get sunburned, okay? This is going to be lucidum. This is going to be granulosum, spinosum, and basale. All right. Pretty cool. So I think knowing that mnemonic will help you answer your questions on your test because that is going to be a question on your test. Which layer has X, Y, and Z cells in it? Which layer is at the bottom? Which layer is going to have stem cells in it? You know, it's going to have those types of questions in it because they're easy. They're easy. And you should know them because that's where you're going to be working as esthetician is on the epidermis. All right. So that's why they love to ask these questions. So let's talk about from what I like to do is go from the bottom up, right? Let's talk from the basale. Okay. The basal layers is where stem cells are, okay? Now, these aren't like stem cells that we inject in rats and mice, things like that, okay? I don't want you guys to like be like, oh my God, stem cells like that. No, not at all. These are stem cells in everybody's body. In every layer of any organ, there's going to be stem cells, or what we like to call them is mother cells, because moms are basically the stems of everything, right? So stem cells. This is where you will find stem cells. These will differentiate or break up into daughter cells, okay? Daughter cells will then decide what they want to be. Do they want to be further stem cells? Do they want to be more daughter cells? Or do they want to, let's say, be keratinocytes? Okay? Keratinocytes. This process, this decision that it made here, this is going to be called terminal differentiation. That triangle is a symbol for differentiation. Okay, so that's where a lot of the stuff is happening to determine what cell is going to do what. Am I going to become keratin? Am I going to become melanin? Am I going to become a different type of fibroblast cell? Like, what am I? This is where a lot of soul searching happens in the basale layer, okay? Stem cells become daughter cells. Daughter cells will decide what they're going to be. Are they going to be keratinocytes, melanin, etc.? And that process is called terminal differentiation. These are keywords that they will ask on the test. Once again, vocabulary is important. When I was becoming a surgeon, I learned over 5,000 new words my first year in medical school. Okay, the reason is because as estheticians, as skin specialists, you want to have your own vocabulary to discuss patients or clients with your other colleagues. If you don't speak the same language, you're really not talking about the same thing. You do not want to leave anything up for interpretation. You want to basically be able to communicate clearly with your clients. And when you do your facial intake forms, you want to know what you're writing because if, let's say, you can't take care of the client the next time and your colleague does, they know what the heck you're writing. And if you don't speak the same language, you're not going to understand each other. Okay? So that's why we got to learn all these words. Let's talk about the next layer, spinosum. Okay? Spinosum is the largest layer in the layers of epidermis. All right. Why? Because a lot of stuff happens here. Okay. If I'm the largest, what do I need? I need strength. Okay. I need strength. How do I get strength? I get strength through something called keratin, which is a protein. Okay. There's a lot of keratin. That's a key word, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. If spinosum is the largest layer, I need to have strength. Strength comes from keratin. Keratin is a protein, okay? That means there's a lot of keratin. If I'm going to be the largest layer of the epidermis, I better be a good communicator, okay? If I want to communicate, I need to have a mechanism in place to communicate. What is that? We call that desmosomes. Are basically small channels like this in the cell where things can get through and come through. It's like a gate. I need to have little gates set up in between my cells and the extracellular matrix so that my cells can talk to each other in that layer, okay? So desmosomes, that's what's going to allow us to have good communication in the spinosum because it's the largest layer, all right? And then lastly, if I'm going to be the largest in that layer, then I also should be the healthiest. All right, if I'm going to be healthy, what do I need? I need cells that are going to help me be healthy. What are these cells called, guys? They are called Langerhans cells. Okay? Yeah. Biology's coming back to haunt us. Langerhans cells, they are going to be here and they're going to help you fight infection. Okay? These cells are literally just kind of surveilling through the whole area and they're picking up on just foreign objects in your skin like antigens. Okay? When they identify antigens or identify infection, they tell your brain, hey, brain, we need help. Okay? What's brain going to do? Remember, we talked about it. Brain is going to come back, secrete extra extra growth factors. Okay, these growth factors are then going to increase blood. What does blood do? Blood brings nutrients, brings all the stuff you need to heal. Okay, it all comes back together. It's so cool. All right, so that's what that layer does. So do you think it's reasonable for the state board to ask us a question about this layer spinosum? It's the largest layer. So I would expect a question about that, okay? The state board exam may be hard, but it is, I think, overall fair, okay? Because it's asking you what you've read. And by this time, for folks that are already taking the exam or planning on it, you should have gone through the Milady book about twice, okay? Because that's what's really going to help you first go through it the first time where you are like, what am I reading? What is this? You're understanding the vocabulary. When you read through it the second time, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not spending an hour looking up on Google what these words mean. I know what they mean now. And I've actually used a little bit of it. So you're understanding the material. And then when you finally are ready to take the exam, you will be an expert on the material, okay? And that's when you know you understand and can excel in this field, okay? It's okay, it'll come. I know it's a lot. All right, granulosum. Granulosum, guess what, is named because that layer of the skin has a lot of granules, little pebbles as you can think of it under a microscope. When we look at these cells under a microscope, they literally look like they're grains of salt. That's why it's very granular. What are these granules filled with? It's filled with keratin, okay? Keratin. What's keratin? It's a protein, one of the strongest protein. Thick protein called keratin is located in the nails. Yeah, crazy, right? All right, this layer also produces lipids. Okay, guys? Reduces lipids. And it also has the natural moisturizing elements here or factors. Okay. I think this layer, this question I've seen before is granulosum layer. What are the natural moisturizing factors? Okay. I think you need to know these because I can see them asking these questions because once again, they don't want to just ask you, hey, what's the layer of the skin? They want to ask you second level questions. What is the layer of the skin? That's easy because that's a simple mnemonic I gave you. They want to know what does each layer of the skin do and what is this responsible for. So for basale, like we talked about stem cells, spinosum, largest needs health, needs communication, and it needs strength. Granulosum, in charge of the natural moisturizing factors. What are they? They're lipids, okay? They're fatty acids. They're triglycerides, okay? They prevent water loss. Guess what? This layer is super duper important in transepidermal water loss. This is one of the layers that is the most important. It's crazy how we kind of keep coming back to this concept. Wonder if it's important. All right, let's move on. Lucidum. All right, lucidum is thin. It's clear. Okay, and it's thickest on the soles of our feet and palms. Okay. Cool thing about lucidum, which I think is an awesome thing to know, is that this is where our fingerprints come from. Right? Fingerprints. So that's once again very important to know. So guys, I'm not going into detail like my lady is because I'm just going over the high yield stuff that I believe that the exam will ask, okay? Your job is to go review more, but understand that these are the high points, okay? Okay, corneum, also known as the horny layer. Okay, this is waterproof because lipids are here. Our transepidermal water loss, epidermal water loss, okay? This is where we're going to be continuing the maintenance of that. This is where keratinocytes, keratinocytes have matured and basically died off and hardened into corneocytes, okay? They're squamous, meaning they're flat at this point. They're flat, all right? So that's what the corneum is doing. It basically is the waterproof layer of our skin, the last layer of the skin, okay? What I would like to do is basically take you through a life cycle of a cell, okay? In particular, let's talk about keratinocytes. Why is that important? Okay, keratinocytes are important because they literally make up 95% of our skin here, okay? So that's why we should take a few minutes and just review the life cycle as a keratinocyte goes through the skin, okay? All right, guys, okay? Everybody hanging in there? We got basale, boom. We got spinosum, granulosum, lucidum, and then we got corneum, okay? Okay. All right. So basale, like we mentioned, is the basal layer where the stem cells are. Now let's say that this is our keratinocyte. Okay. Let's put a K there. The keratinocyte in the basal layer is a baby cell. It really doesn't know what it's going to be, just like kids. They don't know what they're going to be. They're very malleable. So from that layer, they're going to go and become daughter cells, tiny little cells, because they just want to make more of themselves. Okay. The daughter cells will then decide, hey, what am I going to become? Am I going to become a true keratin or keratinocyte, or am I going to go and become more daughter cells or whatnot? So it decided it wants to be a true keratinocyte, okay? Remember, what is this function called? Terminal differentiation. Okay, all right. Then from there, it goes into the largest level, or largest area of the epidermis. All right, the spinosum. The keratinocytes work very diligently here because they add to the health, they add to the protection or strength in this area, because keratinocytes are basically all protein. So they are helping creating something called desmosomes, which allow us to communicate between cell layers. All right. Now, as the keratin goes up and about in to the next layers of the skin, you come into granulosum, where it's all basically keratin depositing into this layer, giving you the strength that you need because it's all protein in that area. Okay, these keratins are just basically giving the skin the ability to be firm, the ability to have a structure. And then as it goes up the layer, up to corneum, guess what happens? The keratinocytes essentially are dying. And when they die, they become little flat pancakes. Okay, and what do we call that? Desquamation. Okay, desquamation is basically the process of a nice plump cell becoming into a pancake. When it becomes into a pancake, that sloughs off. On average, it takes about 28 days for all of this to happen. 28 days. Okay, so it takes that long to actually get to the top of the skin. We need to talk about dermis, because if we don't, we basically have not talked about the full skin. Now, are you going to be working on the dermal layer as an esthetician? No, absolutely not. You're not. But you need to understand what the epidermis is actually laying on. It's laying on a huge, deep layer called the dermal layer, broken down into the papillary layer and broken down into the reticular layer. Okay. These are two big layers of the dermis. Now, collagen makes up roughly 70% of this layer. Collagen is amazing because it offers our dermis to have strength and the ability to have wound healing. All right. So the dermis plays a role for us, for estheticians, because we need to know if there are any major problems underlying so that we can recommend our clients to go to dermatologist or go anywhere else to help with their skincare needs. Now, the dermis, what you need to understand on a histological level, is broken down into multiple different things. All right, it's a very complex area. In particular, let's talk about the reticular layer. The reticular layer has collagen. Okay, this is collagen fibers all along. You don't need to know what collagen is made of or anything in detail like that. Okay, that's collagen. Then you need to know that this area is lined with protein. Protein is all in this area called the reticular layer. Okay, that is then there are fibers in here that are called elastin. Okay, elastin gives your body, or your skin, I should say, the ability to go back to its original state. Elastin. Guess what you need when you have something like this? You need blood. You got blood. Yeah, there's blood everywhere in the dermis, okay? What does blood do? It brings nutrients, brings life, all right? When you have blood, you're basically bringing in good nutrients and you're getting rid of bad nutrients. You're detoxifying the skin. So what do you need? You need lymphatics. Yeah, you got lymphatics here. All right. Now, what do we talk about dermis and the skin? What does it do? It heals. It has healing properties, right? Right? It's going to help heal. And how does it heal? It brings cells called fibroblasts. Remember we kept talking about that, guys? Fibroblasts are going to be stimulated by the epidermal growth factors to help heal. So this is all the stuff that there is in the dermis. Now, what happens when there's problems in each of these, right? Let's say that there is a problem in collagen. What happens? You basically accelerate aging. What happens when you don't have protein? You lose the ability for the cells in this area to be nutrient. They can't be healthy. What happens when there's elastin breakdown? You accelerate aging, right? What happens when there isn't good blood supply, like in clients that have diabetes or hypertension, things like that. If there's no significant blood, then you can't heal. What happens if patients have lymphatic issues, patients with chronic lymphedema, anything along those lines? Lymphatics, if you cannot detoxify, so you clog up this layer, make it unhealthy. What happens if you have diseases that don't allow fibroblasts to come in and help heal this area? Then you cause more problems for infection and bacteria. All right. Okay, guys, that is basically all I have in regards to the physiology, anatomy, and histology. Okay. I know that that was a lot of information, but I think that these are the high yield topics we have in regards to this chapter. I think you guys will really find a lot of benefit in reviewing this, going back to your chapters and going and understanding what we just talked about today. I know it's a lot of information, but I think once you guys actually sit down, prepare for the boards, you will understand that. No problem, guys, no problem. I wish all of you luck in your endeavors and your education. I think you guys have picked a great field. If you follow me along on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook in our communities, you'll realize that the esthetician field is actually growing exponentially compared to other fields. One of the reasons is because our population is living at a longer rate than other countries. And what do people want when they get older? They want to look younger. They want to be healthier. They want to take care of their skin better and see if they can continue any preventative things for their future. So I think you guys have picked the right field. All right. Well, we'll be in touch. Good luck. And if you have any questions, always feel free to email me at drkashedu@gmail.com. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kash.
All right. Bye-bye.